What is going on, everybody? This is Josh from Sorcerer Studios, and welcome back to another game dev discussion video. Now in this video, I thought the topic should be the secret to releasing your game on time, which is releasing the minimum viable product of your game. Now what is a minimum viable product? Well, in terms of game dev, a minimum viable product, or MVP, is a game that fulfills all of the core functions of the game without any extra bells and whistles. So take it into something like this. So if you had something like, for example, a dungeon game, something that could be very simple where you just explore from dungeon to dungeon, the minimum viable product can be something like just you going from room to room, and all of the core functions of movement and going into that room are fulfilled. And it's basically the bare skeleton of what your project is going to be, without any good-looking features such as, better graphics, armor, just basically all of the bells and whistles that are not needed in the game right now. Now, what is the point of a minimum viable product? Well, there are quite a few reasons why you should focus on releasing your minimum viable products before worrying about all of the bells and whistles that will come later. The first reason is you can get your game out on time, and this is very difficult for many people. They say, okay, I want to release this in August or February or something like that, and they always go beyond their deadline. And that is because a lot of people have very big goals, but they forget about the core functions of their game and what they are trying to do. So that's the first reason for having an MVP. You get it out on time. Now, a second reason, and this is one of the biggest reasons, is that people can better critique your game. See, when you release your game and it is a minimum viable product and it only has the core functions in it, people see all of the core functions and they are able to analyze what is good and what is bad. If you have a lot of good-looking features in it, lots of aesthetics, other secondary functions that aren't really needed, basically things that make it look better, it pretty much hides the core. It sometimes hides the core functions of your game, and people can get confused as to what is good and what is bad, and sometimes your feedback might not be as good than if you just had the core functions and people can see what it looks like. So that is reason number two, and this is really good for actually releasing a demo or an alpha version. A lot of alphas and demos are a minimum viable product, and that's what a lot of people do. So yes, so that is the second reason. The third reason is mainly a financial reason, and as you know, almost everybody has financial reasons in mind. You pretty much save money. So if you are buying assets left and right to make your game look more pretty in the beginning, then you are kind of wasting your money at the start. Now, if it's more of an artsy project, where the core function is art, then yes, you definitely want to focus on making it look good. But for something that's more mechanically driven, where there's functions such as jumping, moving, pretty much all that stuff, you don't need to spend a lot of money paying somebody to make assets or buying assets yourself. And you also think about time as money as well. You don't want to spend time making this really good looking, couch or something for this room where it's just kind of a prop and it's kind of a finishing touch. So that's what I mean by you save money and you save time. So that is reason number three. And reason number four is all about consistency. And that is, you pretty much stay on task and you keep on with the goal that you're trying to achieve. And people who basically put a bunch of secondary features in their game right off the bat, they sometimes lose focus as to what the main goal is. Whereas, for example, in that simple dungeon game example that I mentioned, the goal is just to explore and to go from room to room, as opposed to a secondary feature like side quests and talking to creatures in the dungeon. So basically things like that. Now those are awesome features that you should definitely put in to your project later on. It's always good to get the core functions first. Now how did I apply this myself? Well, I first did it in Air Traffic Disruptor. I basically made the movement of the plane. I created the levels, the difficulties, and the ability to collect coins and buy other planes. And that was pretty much all I needed. And I released that game as the very early version back in August. And just a few weeks ago, I finally released the final version. And the final version, it has a lot of bug fixes from people who found the bugs. It adds power-ups, and the power-ups was actually the main feature. So I added a couple of secondary features after adding the primary features, and the primary features, just having those exposed some of the bugs that people were, having secondary features also, it doesn't really matter with bugs, but with things that just can be improved, it's easier to find them when there aren't a bunch of bells and whistles. So those are the main reasons why I think that you should make an MVP and release it before working on all of, I'd say, the pretty features of your project. And I hope that I was able to enlighten you on something. So yes, and also to share my experience as to what I'm doing. Now, currently I'm working on the minimum viable product of my own dungeon exploration game, so I hope you guys catch on to the game devlog series that I have. And yes, alright, so that is the video about minimum viable products and the secret to releasing your game on time. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.